In Module 2, we will review the methods and tools for identifying and addressing hate using the 5Ds bystander response tool, indicators for understanding bias, and the Coalition's Creating Equity developed Wordle tool for frontline workers and individuals.
Often we may be a witness of hate, racism, and discrimination, and be in a position where it is difficult or dangerous to intervene. It is important that we fall back on tools that may help us address tense situations. In case where you are the witness in a hate situation that may call for intervention, you can remember the 5Ds of bystander intervention. Before engaging in bystander intervention, it is vital that you assess your safety and the safety of the individual or individuals experiencing hate. Not all of the following responses will be appropriate in every situation. Every incident of hate is unique, and you must evaluate safety concerns before choosing to engage in the following methods. Distract. Derail the incident by interrupting. Ignore the harasser and engage directly with the individual being targeted. Ignore the harassment and don't refer to it. Instead, talk about something unrelated. Read the situation and choose your distraction method accordingly. The goal is to de-escalate the situation, and some methods may escalate. Consider safety first. Delegate. Find an authority figure, such as a store supervisor, a bus driver, or a security guard, for assistance in intervention. If you have others with you, have them use methods of distraction, such as asking for the time, directions, with the person being harassed while you find someone who may be able to assist. Speak with other nearby bystanders that might be in a better position to intervene. Work together. Call emergency services if it's safe to do so. Document. Assess the situation first. Is anyone else helping the person being harassed? If not, try using one of the other 4Ds. Recording hate can expose abuse, deter violence, substantiate reports, and serve as evidence. We should consider first safety. Could recording make the situation worse? It may be better to try a different tactic first. And then privacy. Ask permission from the person being harassed first. They may not wish to be recorded. Delay. It may not be possible to act in the moment. However, you can still make difference for people experiencing harassment by checking in on them and after an incident has taken place. Many types of harassment happen in passing or very quickly. When the situation is over, speak to the person who was targeted. Direct. You can directly respond to harassment by naming what is happening or confronting the harasser. But first, assess the situation. Are you physically safe? Is the person being harassed physically safe? Does it seem likely that the situation could escalate? Can you tell if the person being harassed wants someone to speak up? Keep it short. Try not to engage in dialogue, debate, or argument with the harasser, as it can lead to escalation.
Bias indicators. It can sometimes be difficult to identify hate when it happens. You may use the following 8 bias indicators, also listed on the Stop Hate AB website, to help you identify hate when it happens. Victim perception. Does the victim perceive the incident to be motivated by hate? Witness perception. Does the witness perceive the incident to be motivated by hate? Is there a difference between the perpetrator of hate and the victim in terms of racial, religious, national or ethnic origin, gender, sexual orientation, or other similar factor? Did the incident occur on a date of significance to the victim, such as a religious holiday, Pride Month, or cultural celebration? Did the perpetrator of hate use particular language or words regarding the victim's background? Was an organized hate group involved? Is there a history of previous incidents occurring in the area? The bias indicators are objective factors that should be considered in determining the presence of bias in the course of an act. Bias indicators provide an indication that further investigation with the view of establishing a motive may be required. The absence or presence of bias indicators is not always indicative of bias, but may be useful in identifying potential hate, racism, and discrimination.
The Wordle tool was created for frontline workers and individuals assisting people who have been impacted by hate, racism, and discrimination. The Wordles cover the topics of hate incidents, hate crimes, individual discrimination, and systemic discrimination. They are designed so that both those who have been impacted by hate and those assisting them have an accessible way to understand and address hate. Each Wordle contains words and phrases that describe what an individual impacted by hate may have experienced, witnessed, or felt. Hate Incident Wordle. The front page of the Hate Incident Wordle contains a plain language definition of a hate incident, which is a non-criminal act motivated by hatred towards the group that an individual belongs to. It contains what a person impacted by hate might be feeling, such as guilt, anger, fear, shock, and trauma. How hate may manifest, such as discriminatory jokes, name-calling, slurs, bullying, microaggression, verbal harassment, victim blaming, online harassment. Other impacts of hate incidents, such as how it's rarely reported, how it may lead to hate crimes, and potential retaliation. On the back page, methods for responding to hate incidents are listed. While hate incidents are non-criminal in nature, we always encourage reporting to local law enforcement. Though they may not be able to act upon non-criminal incidents of hate, documenting them provides vital intelligence to law enforcement for their education and outreach. It also establishes a paper trail should additional incidents or escalation occur. If the incident is committed by a coworker, employer, service provider, or landlord, it can also be reported to human rights commissions. Unofficial reporting mechanisms may also provide a place for individuals to report. Reports can be made to B'nai B'rith, which is a Jewish organization that accepts reports of both hate crimes and hate incidents committed against the Jewish community. National Council of Canadian Muslims, which is a Muslim organization that accepts reports of both hate crimes and hate incidents committed against the Muslim community. The Alberta Hate Crimes Committee's StopHateAB.ca website, which is an Alberta-based website where individuals that are impacted by hate can self-document what they experience or witness. Report where you feel most comfortable. These organizations are committed to working together to ensure people are supported. Reporting to these organizations does not mean law enforcement is aware of the incident. However, these organizations can help individuals if they would like to file an incident with law enforcement. Hate crime Wordle. Our plain language definition of a hate crime is any criminal act that is motivated by hatred towards the group that an individual belongs to. Hate crime is a broad category, as any criminal act that is found to be motivated by hate falls into this category. Crimes motivated by hate can include verbal, sexual, or physical assault motivated by hate. In the Canadian Criminal Code, a few crimes are specifically recognized as motivated by hate such as advocating genocide, willful promotion of hatred, mischief to religious buildings, and creation of hate materials. Like hate incidents, hate crimes are rarely reported. They can escalate to more serious crimes, are often ignored, and can escalate. As with hate incidents, it is essential that hate crimes are reported to law enforcement, while hate crimes can be reported to other organizations. It is important to acknowledge that an official organization cannot give official responses like law enforcement can.
Individual discrimination Wordle. Individual and systemic discrimination often overlap, as neither can exist without the other. Both uphold the other and allow for all parts of discrimination to take place. Our plain language definition of individual discrimination is bias or differential treatment towards the group that a person belongs to. This can manifest in a variety of ways, including exclusion, discriminatory jokes and comments, microaggressions, and verbal harassment. Feeling that one must take off traditional clothing or cover body art for acceptance. Internalized oppression or racism towards oneself or one's own group. Individual discrimination can have less tangible ways to respond to it. However, if the incident is committed by a coworker, employer, service provider, or landlord, it can be reported to the Human Rights Commission. Many organizations also work to fight individual discrimination, such as faith organizations, Pride, and other 2S LGBTQIA+ organizations, friendship centers, other Indigenous organizations, and mental health organizations. As an individual, you can also make a difference by being an active witness and following the 5 Ds of bystander interventions, contacting labor boards, unions, employers, boards of directors, offices of safe disclosure, and the media, educating and advocating on social media. Systemic discrimination. Systemic discrimination occurs when the realities of discrimination are manifested in each of society's major parts. As with individual discrimination, systemic discrimination is propped up by individual discrimination occurring and vice versa. This is the type of discrimination where we see manifestation of issues like racism, sexism, ageism, transphobia, homophobia, and more. This leads to concerns like societal complacency, housing and hiring denial, inaccessible buildings, transit, and supports, as well as discriminatory policies and lack of legal supports. Deeper conversation on the past, present, and future impacts of privilege and colonialism are needed to effectively address systemic discrimination. These types of conversations can get discouraging, as they often seem bigger than we can handle. There are ways to address systemic discrimination, however. We can join or develop a coalition to advocate for change to policies, laws, or practices. For example, Coalition for Justice and Human Rights, John Humphrey Center for Peace and Human Rights, Multicultural Health Brokers Co-op, Center for Race and Culture. We can also seek justice through dialogue and restorative justice circles. Have everyone, including those who benefit from systemic discrimination, work together to take responsibility to dismantle systems of oppression. Seek policing alternatives, such as community dialogues, Indigenous organizations, and community-led initiatives. And collectively address major barriers to confronting racism and exclusion, such as transportation and housing.